Not because they're dramatic headlines or political debates, but because they remind you of something deeply human. The search for Nancy Guthrie is one of those stories. In a video that's been circulating online, Savannah Guthrie, yes, the well-known television anchor, stood before a camera, visibly heartbroken, and spoke words that no child should ever have to say about their parent. She acknowledged that her mother may be gone. She said, and I'm quoting directly here, she may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven. And if this is what is to be, then we will accept it. But we need to know where she is. We need her to come home. Those words. That composure in the face of that kind of pain. It's something most of us can only imagine. And today we're going to talk about this case, calmly, factually, and with the respect it deserves. So let's break down what we actually know, based on what's been reported. Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, has gone missing. According to reports, she was not someone who simply walked out the door. Investigators, according to the coverage being discussed, have determined that she was dragged from her bed. This reportedly happened at around 2 a.m. She is described as an 84-year-old woman. Let that sink in for a moment. An 84-year-old grandmother reportedly pulled from her bed in the middle of the night. That detail alone tells us this was not a voluntary disappearance. This was something that was done to her. Now, in response to the ongoing search, Savannah Guthrie's family has announced a reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads to her recovery. And according to commentary from crime analyst Nancy Grace, this reward carries a notable distinction from previous offers. Earlier rewards, it was noted, were tied to conditions like an arrest or a conviction. This new reward, reportedly, has no such qualifier. The family wants to find Nancy Guthrie. Period. Regardless of legal outcomes. That is a meaningful difference, and it's worth understanding why. Now, from a purely human standpoint, and I think most of us can relate to this, when you hear that a family is offering $1 million simply to know where their loved one is, not even asking for justice first, just answers, that tells you something about the depth of that grief. It's not about winning a court case at this point. It's about a daughter who needs to know what happened to her mother. That is primal. That is human. And honestly, it's heartbreaking to watch, whether you know this family personally or not. Many people watching this story will feel a sense of urgency, that familiar frustration of why isn't more being done, faster. That sentiment was even voiced in the broadcast itself, and it's a natural reaction. But it's also worth remembering, as investigators and legal analysts often point out, that these things take time. Rushing an investigation can compromise it. That doesn't make the waiting any easier, but it does put the pace in some perspective. There are a few different ways people might look at this situation. Some people will focus on the reward and see it as a powerful, practical move. $1 million is, according to reports, an unusually large family-funded reward in recent history. The thinking, as expressed by Nancy Grace in this segment, is that it may motivate someone on the periphery, perhaps someone who knows something but has been hesitant, to come forward. That's a reasonable theory. Financial incentive has historically played a role in breaking cold cases and missing person situations open. Others, however, might feel a sense of sadness that it has even come to this. That a family has to offer life-changing sums of money just to get information about an elderly woman who was reportedly taken from her own home. It raises broader questions, ones that don't have easy answers, about safety, about vulnerability, and about what kind of world we live in where this happens. And then there are those who will simply hold space for hope, because, as was mentioned in the segment, there are cases, like the Elizabeth Smart case, where people were found alive against all odds. Hope is not naive. Hope is sometimes the most rational thing left. What we can say with reasonable confidence, based purely on what's been reported, is this. The investigation appears to be active. There has reportedly been a flurry of activity at Nancy Guthrie's home, with various individuals, potentially including federal-level legal personnel, involved in the process. Forensic details have been discussed publicly, suggesting investigators are working through physical evidence methodically. The family is doing what families do, using every resource available to them, staying vocal, staying visible, and refusing to let the story fade into the background noise of the news cycle. Whether or not this ends the way the family prays it will, the efforts being made, both by the family and, it appears, by investigators, seem genuine and serious. At the end of the day, this is a story about a family that needs answers. It's about an elderly woman who, according to all available reports, did nothing to invite what happened to her. And it's about the very human experience of holding on to hope when hope is all you have left. If you know anything at all, that might be relevant to this case, the right thing to do seems clear. There is now reportedly a significant reward in place, and more importantly, there is a family waiting. For the rest of us, perhaps the most we can do is pay attention, share what we know, and sit with the reminder that stories like this one are not just news. They are real lives, real families, real pain. Think about that. And as always, form your own conclusions.